What's going on, everybody? I'm back with another video for my Omi homies. So if you've been paying attention, and I'm sure you have, there is a lot of FUD in the streets. There's blood in our vaults. There's a new normal in the Veve ecosystem. I'm going to talk about all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly in this video. Why I'm not concerned about the long-term future of this project and the long-term value of my collectibles. But I'm also going to give you my objective criticism about the current state of Veve. So stick around. There is a lot to talk about. If you like this sort of content, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is linked down below. So as I said, we're all adjusting to a new normal in Veve. A lot has changed over the last couple of months. And while it might not feel like it, Veve is now healthier in many ways than it's ever been. And again, that's counterintuitive because when you look at the value of your collectibles in your vault and they're going down every day, it doesn't feel like things are healthier. But when you consider the fact that we now have cash out with MTL implementation, when you consider that the team has now gotten rid of the bots and that there are no more dirty gems on the secondary market, right? Those are three really big issues that people have been complaining about for the last year, and they've been taken care of. Now, of course, the value of our collectibles has been on a downward trajectory, and generally speaking, when prices go down, FUD goes up, all right? FUD and price have kind of an inverse correlation, and when prices are dropping, people get scared and they're fearful. And sometimes they end up fudding themselves out of the market. A lot of people are being swayed by short-term sentiment in the middle of a bear market, and they're forgetting about their long-term plan. But the thing about sentiment is that it changes really fast, all right? And if the long-term thesis plays out, and if Veve becomes a mainstream platform with the biggest IP in the world, and they dominate that sector of NFTs, then long-term, this is a great buying opportunity. All right, and you look at people in January who had 10 Supermans, 10 Rizzos, and 10 Todds, and we said that they were lucky. All right, the fact of the matter is that they weren't lucky. They had conviction, and they took advantage of a market, all right? And they were buying when no one else was buying, and they were stacking, all right? They believed when other people didn't believe. Now, of course, you take on risk. All right, you're always taking on risk, but that's why you have to have conviction. That's why you have to have a long-term game plan. All right, and things were actually riskier to buy back in January. All right, it's way riskier to buy when the market is euphoric. All right, it's less risky to buy when everything is cheap and beaten down. All right, so this is why you can't go by sentiment. You have to go by your conviction and a long-term game plan. So that's not to say that there aren't some valid criticisms and everything should just be dismissed as FUD, all right? We have to be rational. We have to be objective when we're looking at things. My main concern is that Veve is overproducing collectibles. They're releasing too many editions. Too many are hitting the market, and it's draining liquidity from an already depleted secondary market because there's only so much money to go around. And unless we get a flood of new users to eat up all the supply, where the old collectibles are going to bleed against the new collectibles, right? It's basic economics. I think this was really well illustrated by the Boba Fett drop on July 30th. There was something like 19,000 editions of Boba at $80 each, all right? So Veve generated almost $2.4 million with that drop alone, which is great for Veve. The thing is that only 1 million gems were purchased on that day. All right, and what that means is that you've got almost $1.4 million leaving the secondary market. So that Boba Fett drop sucked $1.4 million from our other collectibles. Meanwhile, at the time of this recording, the common Bobas are going somewhere like $27, uncommons also in that range, and the ultra rare was under $200. I think it's at like $220 right now, which tells you that the demand for, it's actually 25,000 Boba Fett's in the market. the demand for 25,000 edition Boba Fett is just not there. Now, that's not to say that demand won't be there 2 or 3 years from now for 25,000 Boba Fett's, because I think that demand will be there, and I think that he's going to do really well over time, and this is a great opportunity for people to stack him. But I think that there are some dangers in releasing so many editions of collectibles, and the first one is that you drain liquidity from the secondary market, devaluing the pre-existing collectibles, and you weaken the secondary market, which is something that's going to drive future growth. All right, you need a strong secondary market in order to drive future growth. Like I said, I think that Boba Fett was a tipping point, and now people are adjusting to the new market dynamics. You got the first appearance, Buzz Lightyear. Even though he's not the OG Buzz, still hasn't sold out. Part of the reason being there are 9,000 commons, there are 5,000 rares, and there are 2,000 ultra rares. So that's 17,000 edition Buzz Lightyear. Now there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm going to talk about why I don't necessarily blame Veve for this, but I do think that they need to adjust their strategy. All right, a lot of this is on the people not adjusting to a new marketplace, and I think that people are now realizing that you shouldn't be buying everything. Not everything is meant to be bought and flipped. Not everything is flippable, and people are slowly now starting to realize this. People are starting to be more selective, and that's a good thing. They're realizing that this isn't the good old days where, you know, something dropped and immediately was flipped for twice the amount because bots were propping things up. All right, those days are over, and people need to adjust. But Veve also needs to adjust. Now, up until now, they've been getting signals that the demand is there because everything has been selling out. So why wouldn't they raise their edition numbers if everything continues to sell out? Because after all, they're a business, and the purpose of a business is to generate money, because how else can you build out the business if you don't have that revenue coming in? All right, how else do they build out the Veveverse? How else do they build out a customer support team and, you know, onboard new developers and grow in all the ways they need to grow if they're not generating revenue? All right, and up until now, everything has been selling out, so it's only natural that, you know, they've been receiving those signals from the market that the demand is there. All right, but now we're at a new normal. All right, there's been a hard reset on the market, and the people need to adjust, and I think that Veve needs to adjust, because now I think they run the risk of creating an imbalance between supply and demand, because if the demand isn't there and the supply overpowers demand, you're going to see the values of new collectibles immediately drop in the secondary market, like we're currently seeing with Boba Fett and Buzz Lightyear, which is at like $19 for the common, and only, I think, $100 or $90 for the ultra rare. Not only are the oversupplied new collectibles going to drop in value immediately, but the old collectibles are going to bleed against the new collectibles, and you're going to sap and suck liquidity out of the secondary market. And I think that when that happens, that's not a good thing for the brand. I think the brand will do well if they have a strong secondary market. Now, I know that they've said that they want to become the Walmart of NFTs, and you know, they're supposed to be inventory on the shelves. All right. The only problem with that is that there's still Buzz. Buzz is still sitting on the shelf, and you can purchase him for $60. But in the aisle next to it, there's another Buzz that you can purchase for $19. All right. And there's like this dynamic in Veve where that doesn't exist in Walmart. Right. When you walk into Walmart and you see a physical toy, if it's $60, it's $60. You don't see a $19 toy sitting next to the $60 toy. Because what does that signal to the market? It signals that it's not worth the $60 at this point in time. And it's going to be hard to onboard new people, all right, if the supply is too high and the demand is not there and the values are dropping. Now, people can argue that these are collectibles. They're meant to be collectibles. They're not investments, but they've been treated like investments. Now, it's true that they're collectibles, but it's also true that the secondary market is there for a reason. And certain collectibles have built-in scarcity, like the secret rare, because they're meant to be more valuable. And the whole collectibles industry is driven by the secondary market. So you need a strong secondary market. And Hello K, who is a YouTuber that I respect a lot, I think he's a smart guy, made a really good point and said that Veve has been transparent from the beginning. They said that they're going to be increasing the number of drops and the frequency of drops and the number of editions. And that's very true, all right? But I think that they need to do that at a rate that's commensurate with user growth. Now, again, up until now, everything's been selling out. The bots were here. The whole market was propped up, including the primary market. But now they're gone, right? The water has receded, and we see what the actual demand is. Now Veve has to adjust the supply in order to create a balanced playing field. And so I think there's a danger in scaling production too soon. And I think that the sneaker market has been doing it right. If you look at the model that Nike has been using and that like a brand like Yeezy has been using, they have controlled the supply side very carefully, right, releasing limited edition premium sneakers that then sell on the secondary market. They have a strong secondary market. That secondary market increases demand, so more people try to get the drops, and it just ends up being a cycle. Over time, the brand is built up, and if you look at what Kanye has done with the Yeezy brand, now they're producing more than ever, right? They just had a Yeezy day where they dropped like 30 different sneakers on one day, and they sold them all out because he carefully controlled the supply side to increase demand, and in that way, he didn't need any marketing because the product markets itself. So that's my objective, constructive criticism. And as I said, I'm not concerned because I do believe in this team, and I think that they're going to adjust to the new market the same way that people are adjusting. And ultimately, the market's going to determine what happens, because as the market dries up a bit and people stop going for drops, they're going to receive the signal that the demand is not there, and they're going to scale back the edition sizes, all right? That's what I think they'll do, and that's what I think that they should do. And if they don't do that, I think that our old collectibles will continue to bleed against the new collectibles, all right? But right now, I do think it's a great buying opportunity because I believe in the long-term vision of the team and in the long-term success of this project. So I am adding to my vault. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Are you buying? Are you selling? What do you think about edition sizes? As always, hit the like button on your way out. If you like the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Follow me on Twitter. Hope you all have a great weekend. Stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe. I'll see you in the next